Good morning, everybody. Um, we've seen over the last week and a half some tremendous performances from our athletes in the pool and, of course, on the track. And just want to highlight some of them. The track and field Carifta Games held in Grenada. I was there to witness that. St. Lucia coming up with 4 medals. Destiny Snack, Kaimaje Grosele, gold in the high jump of 1.72 meters. I don't think what's not been said is the fact that her leap would have put her even in the top 3 in the open category, which means that she's outperforming a lot of the under 20 jumpers already at the age of 16. So we are very proud of her progress. I've had some conversation with the coaches on how it is that we can ensure that we augment all our efforts to see her get a scholarship, get into a very good program, and continue to punch above her weight as she has. She had a couple of years at the under 20 level, at the Carifta level, at the regional level to go, and so we're expecting big things from her. Of note was the significant transformation in her physique and overall fitness. When Destiny first competed at Carifta in Trinidad, you would have seen an individual that was just raw talent, but we see a lot of work on her technique, we see a lot of work on her level of strength, and her approach to the actual jump. So I think we're doing some good work with her, and there's a lot of work left to do from the conversations I had with the coaches. Also, medaling was Nia Jules, 4th consecutive Carifta Games with a medal in the pole vault event. She finished second. Very proud of this young lady. Of course, she's already at school overseas, and we're just hoping for more and more from her. Also performing very well as Denzel Phillip. He had a bronze medal in the discus throw, doing very well. If you see him, he looks diminutive, but his technique is what gets him through. Very slim compared to the other athletes in the throwing events. I'm sure the coaches will be working with him to strengthen him some more, of course. And Denzel Phillip was from Leclerc. I like to give the actual area they're from. And previous to that, I spoke to Nia Jules, originally from Babonneau. And we come to Randall Monroe from Grosele to and fro. Very, very good prospect. His experience, I mean, standing there, seeing what was actually happening, caused me as minister to realize that we have a lot of work to do on our athletes, especially in terms of dealing with unforeseen circumstances. He, in the high jump event, the high jump event was won by an individual who leaped 1.90 meters. Denzel did that in St. Lucia, and it almost seemed effortless. But on competition day, he was doing very well. And then we had a rain shower of 45 minutes. And I stood there as minister wondering, okay, what is his regime right now? You could have seen with the other athletes, they had the headphones, they had other things, coping mechanisms right there. And I mean, he sat there and you could see he was trying, but it was never the same. He finished 4th, and the actual winning jump was the jump he actually executed in St. Lucia. So had he jumped 1.90 meters, he would have had a gold medal, but he finished 4th. So conditions, again, things we need to work on as a small island. In the long jump event, he finished 3rd, coming short just after the Jamaican and the Trinidadian. Again, the conditions, weather conditions, was raining, slippery. I was right next to him, and I did have the opportunity a few times to tell him, let me tell you something, you are better than these individuals here. You have raw talent, raw speed, raw ability. And true to form, he had that very good leap of 6.60 meters, and he brought home the bronze medal. In swimming, I was not invited to Carifta swimming. I got the invitation again for the 3rd year to attend the track and field event, and so the information would be coming from 2nd and 3rd sources, and this is why you would see a delay in me actually putting up any results on my pages, because, of course, when you're at the track and field event, you could readily see what has happened. When you're not at the swimming event, you wait on the information before you could post. But we did very well in the pool. 14 medals this year at Carifta Swimming. Sophia Pax did very, very well. I think she had 5 gold medals, representing very, very well for St. Lucia. and her school, St. Joseph's Convent, and her constituency, Grosley. Doing very, very well. Very impressive performance there by her. The likes of Antoine Destang also doing very well for St. Lucia. 4 individuals actually medaled in swimming, similar to track and field. We had 4 individuals medaling in track and field and 4 individuals medaling in swimming. So we have a lot of work to do, and we'll continue to ensure that our programs are put in place for our athletes. You would have also noticed that Naomi London participated in relays for Texas, University of Texas, doing that anchor leg. And many people were asking, but Naomi was not able to go to Carifta, but she was running on that very same weekend. Again, the science of sport and recovery, coaches would know at that level what amount of pressure, what competitions you put an athlete who is recovering from injury. And one of the perhaps avenues to actually gauge her level of readiness would be through a relay. And so you would see her running, competing in that one relay, and you would see her in the more comfortable leg, which is the anchor roll, not the first or the third, which has the most pressure in a 4x100 meter relay. And so, of course, in speaking with the coaches and the people around her, they're just gauging her level of readiness to come back to a level of fitness for competition. She did very well. We have been having conversations about her progress, and we are going to continue to monitor that closely. JD Emmanuel, she was not able to be at Carifta this year. She suffered an injury, and we are certainly going to be monitoring her very, very closely as she gets ready to head to the University of Texas. Also in sport, we saw the commencement of the Semi-Pro Cricket League, SPL, in St. Lucia. On Friday, we had the launch at the Minnefley Park, and last night we had some very, very, very good fanfare at the Grosley Francis Babalastic grounds, and we saw Grosley coming up against Monrepo and some good results here. I want to appeal to the public to continue to come out in support. We know places like Choiseul, there's a bumper crowd every time there's cricket in Choiseul. We're expecting big things there. We're expecting more people to come out in support of our athletes. Questions?
Good morning, Mister.
Good morning.
So
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So with sporting also on the upgrade as well. We're seeing a lot of upgrades with sporting infrastructure, not only as well as last year the Granivier playing field has earned its lights. Now we're also seeing work on the basketball court as well for the Granivier playing field. So I want to just get a update on that as well as any future sporting infrastructures we can expect.
Yes, so definitely Granivier, it's a multi-purpose court. We did say in Parliament, it was announced that it's going to be the Deidre Mathre Community Court, former national netball player who passed away suddenly during the time of this epidemic in St. Lucia. So we are looking to open the facility. We've not officially opened the community center nor the court. We still have works ongoing in terms of we just installed the actual basketball rims. We will be doing the netball rims as well, and of course a bleacher set for that area as well. So that can be expected very soon. We're also expecting to commence work on the Bonte Court, the Labon Court, at the end of this month. That was a program from since last year. We had to do some acquisition of lands. That process has been complete, and so we're expecting that to commence very soon. After budget, we will be started work on the roof at the Philip Masley grounds. Philip Masley is a facility that we need for all our programs, whether it is black hat football, whether it is semi-professional football, whether it's semi-professional cricket. It is a venue that we have to ensure it's up and running at an optimum level. And of course, we will be doing work on the court as well in that community. We are getting pressure from the member from Ancillary Canaries to do even more work in Ancillary as we approach semi-professional football so they can host some more games there. So we are looking at the feasibility of that. We know we have works ongoing in the Prime Minister's constituency, very, very state-of-the-art court and community center being built for the individuals in Masha and the surrounding communities ongoing as well. We have a lot of work ongoing. We have the resurfacing of the Masha grounds ahead of semi-professional cricket as well, football as well, and a number of other projects in the south. in the library community as well.
Yeah, a couple of questions from me, just shifting to education. In recent times, there's been talk of dwindling classrooms, the number of students per classroom, dwindling younger population, what have you. What has the conversation been like since you
My
assumed the
brother,
portfolio of Minister of
there's a
Education?
particular station that posted a very like 0.5% of a statement I made about populating our country, and they put a caption that was so far removed from the actual report. I was absolutely stunned at that level of journalism still happening in St. Lucia, and I would say it was disappointing. Here's my answer to that question. Most of the islands are telling you that we are seeing population trends going in an opposite direction. And that's for years. We have more contraception, we have more family planning, we have more programs for women to actually decide better when they're going to have children. I said in that statement, and I'm going to say it again, I, Kenson Casimir, have taken my responsibility to ensure that I contribute to the next generation of St. Lucians. I have my twin girls. I'm very proud of them. They've been productive individuals. And I would decide whether or not, based on my financial position, whether I should have more children. And I would say the same thing to all St. Lucians. If you can afford to have children, I will say it again. If you can afford, I will say it again. If you can afford to have more children, contribute to the economy of this country, then by all means, as the Minister of Education, I encourage you to do so. This is the government that has put in place free ultrasounds for women when they're pregnant, and all the dynamics of a better healthcare system for making more children. If you
So
cannot,
I think you've digressed just a little.
that's not right. I need to clarify
Yes.
it. You give me an opportunity to clarify
Right.
something very
Okay.
important. If
Okay.
you cannot and you cannot afford to, then I would ask you to practice family planning, ensure that you use contraceptive methods that are readily available in this nation, and ensure that we can do what we need to do. Now, dwindling classrooms. This government has been very proactive as it pertains to the slowing birth rate in this country. And we realize that there are opportunities for us to refocus or focus on different aspects to education based on the fact that we do have these numbers. So, for instance, if you have a classroom that is right now filling in 10 children and another classroom 10, what we are going to do is we are going to move them into one class and then use the other class for something like special education. So you can have a program at the school where you have a special ed teacher and you move those that need that particular level of teaching into those classrooms. The same thing in terms of TVET education, identifying those individuals that are gravitating towards technological vocational studies, and you use the classroom for that level of teaching. So you won't have a situation where you have just empty classrooms. It's only if you have a government that is not thinking that that will become a problem. All you have to do is re-strategize and ensure that you have programs to ensure that the classrooms that are actually filled can still use that class for the development. Another program that we are looking at the Ministry of Education. Previously, a child would get suspended, a child that they would consider to be a troubled child, and the child may be sent home for a week, sometimes 2 weeks, and the child is just basically left at their own whims and fancies. We are looking at identifying a classroom within those same institutions that we consider to have dwindling numbers and institute a program for these children that needs that additional attention to be more productive students. So you have a classroom set up, you have a particular counselor, a behavioral modification counselor that we'll be speaking about in the next budget debate, to sit down with that child for that 2-week period and ensure that you can realign that child and make them more productive. So there's a lot that we are going to do to ensure that while we have those dwindling numbers, we can still develop productive young individuals.
Still on education, under the stewardship of your predecessor, there were ongoing discussions of a nutrition policy for schools. It was also proposed the banning of sugary drinks on school compounds. That was met with some opposition in certain quarters. Where are we right now with those policies?
We have a prime minister who is a health nut, I can tell you. And then he's given a minister who has a very strong sports background to be a minister of education. So you have individuals that are very concerned, and that's a very good question. That is why we have the one banana per child program that is going to be expanded to ensure that all schools could benefit from it. We are now looking at a one egg per child program that we can ensure that protein. So you have to just look at the nutrient background of what this government is proposing, the exercise that we are trying to instill in young people. What are the nutritional benefits of having a banana? What can you benefit from having a banana? And then the most protein dense food that you can have, one egg. What's the benefit to having one egg per day? An egg is said to have almost all nutrients that you can need. And so we are looking at these programs to really start having people, what they call, have mindful eating. Evaluate what you're putting in a system, because what we are seeing right now is that people just eat. And if you study the Japanese method, there is so much information on what you are eating and putting in your mouth. So from the conversations with the Prime Minister and, of course, with some other individuals at the Ministry of Education, we are looking to see how we can turn the page to really fight non-communicable diseases through having parents and the children actively participate in consuming those things that we believe they should be consuming and providing information on those things that they should not be consuming.
Specific to the sugary drinks.
Exactly. So the sugary drinks now, mindful eating. If you try to just implement something on people that are just used to having it one way, it will be very difficult. What we have been talking about also with CAMDO is in the curriculum, how we, through a more strategic method, start impressing on people the benefits of a child staying away from sugar. So if as part of the curriculum, what you are learning in school are the benefits, the disadvantages of consuming sugar, then you have a better avenue to get to a point where you can say, hey, we are removing sugary drinks and we are removing those things that are bad for our children from the program. So for me, it's more a strategic approach to doing it than just, saying, hey, it's bad for you, we're not doing it. So that's my approach.
Final question for me, focusing on your portfolio, as MP for Grosley, at the Carnival launch, you were proclaimed as one of the ministers of Bacchanal.
I don't know when I'm gonna
For the Carnival Queen pageant, recognizing that you have one of your constituents who just happen to have the last name of Montoot, similar to that
Absolutely.
of one of your rivals. And just your thoughts and what is your support going to be like for that contestant going into the pageant?
So it's a fact. I grew up a couple houses from Grosley Friday night. It's a fact that in my younger days, I would be dancing on the streets. It's a fact that for the last 15 years, I've been a member of Just for Fun Carnival Band. These are well documented, the best band in St. Lucia, by the way. And very early, I make it known that I'm a Just for Fun boy. Now, the fact of the matter is, since I've become the MP for Grosley, these are not things that I announce or you see being done anywhere. I have contributed to the contestants individually. And this year is going to be no difference. This year I have 3 or 4, and I'll be contributing to all 3 or 4 participants. All 3 or 4 participants will be given a contribution at the very same level. So nobody will be given preferential treatment or get more than the other individual. The fact is, sometimes individuals that are not from my constituency ask for support. They get it, but I tell you straight, they are getting the same amount, because the fact of the matter is, I want somebody from Grosley to win. I'll be very happy. I'm going to tell you the truth in my boyo. I'll be very happy if the individual with last name Montoot wins the crown. She's from Marie-Thérèse Street. And of course, Grosley people will tell you about the little rivalry, Marie-Thérèse Street, Notre Dame Street, St. George Street, St. John Street. By the way, a lot of my competitors cannot name the streets in Grosley town. And so, as a Marie-Thérèse Street boy, I would be happy, absolutely elated to see that she wins this contest, just as the individual from Granivier that I think has a very good chance to, individual from Ragery, and of course, we'll see how that goes. But I will be making my contribution to every single contestant who participates and represents Grosley at the Carnival Queen. I'm actually really looking forward to this year. I'm very excited about this year. I feel we're bringing it to Grosile. And then I can kick off on the rest of my colleagues as I often do in sports. All right? Yes.
No bias, no influence.
No bias.
You spoke about the dwindling classrooms. How does children not attending school affect those numbers? Because there is, according to the country's prime minister, a wide majority, well, not majority, a wide number of kids abstaining from the classroom, abstaining from school for whatever reason. How does that number affect your dwindling classrooms?
Very good. The Prime Minister has put in his budget an additional 3 truancy officers for St. Lucia. We previously had 1 truancy officer. Spelius, former commissioner, police commissioner, she's done an excellent job by herself in really going out to the different communities, investigating who these individuals are that should be in the classroom. With the addition of 3, it means that we'll have north, south, east, and west. So immediately after the budget, we are going to be identifying those 3 individuals. The ambition is not to leave it to just these 4 individuals, but to get buy-in from the Principals Association, from the principals, from the teachers, to identify who are those individuals that have not been in class. And, of course, with the influence the former commissioner has, go into the communities and get these children in schools. So, objectively speaking, once we have the numbers and we see, okay, from the north, we have 10 individuals that have not attended school for the last week and there's no medical situation. We know in the south, if we have 20, on the east and in the west, we have 10 or 15 or 30. From these numbers, we can see exactly how we can formulate our programs to really deal and tackle with the actual underlying cause of their truancy. And the Prime Minister has also announced that we'll be employing 10 additional counselors. In conversations with him, I said, we are going to employ 10, but we need individuals that have behavioral modification specializations, individuals that can actually take a child, monitor what the information is on that child, and seek to modify what they are doing and make them more productive before we return them to the classrooms. So with the truancy officers, with the psychologists, the behavior modification specialists, we should be able to have some objective facts on how we are tackling the issues of truancy in St. Lucia.
How do you respond to comments suggesting that this is drastically too late or very, very, very late?
I would say that there's no time like the present. I would say that there are certain things that even I see sometimes, even in sports, that we should have had a semi-professional football league 20 years ago. We had some of the best footballers in the region, cricketers in the region as well, but there's no time as the present. I always believe the then and now and moving forward, what we should do and what we can do to really tackle a lot of the social issues that we have, and I believe this government has really taken it upon themselves to be as scientific as possible and to actually give attention and finances to these areas that we believe can make a difference in our society.
And wonderfully you brought up the semi-professional being 20 years too late or 20 years late. There's a thinking that monies, government monies and sponsorship monies being put into local senior sports is actually a waste, and that your under 13 leagues should be vibrant and the hundreds of thousands that is being spent on sports should be spent there with the aim of developing a better crop of athletes, football, cricket, track and field, whatever, in the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm. So you want my opinion on that?
Absolutely.
All right. We need participation of the same individuals that come up with those sort of analysis. Let me tell you my problem. It is a fact that we need more grassroots programs in this country. We've said that. Grassroots programs are not as expensive as people make it out to be. I was part of grassroots programs. There's very same individuals that refuse to either become a PRO in an organization, the treasurer in an organization, or something administrative to allow for a coach to come in on a Sunday or a Saturday and have these kids in a development program is not very costly to institute. We could pump more money into it once we know that the program is being done in a professional manner, but we know that grassroots development programs are things that we always need. And here's what. If any organization in St. Lucia right now, over the last 5 years, have developed a grassroots program that has clear indicators, clear key performance indicators, clear budgeting outlines, clear numbers of individuals that we're taking off the streets to put in those programs. Any registered club or organization that puts that in black and white gets funded by this government. Any one of them. If they can show, I'm saying it so that everybody can hear, if they can show a proper structure, executive, a proper agenda, clearly outlined programs that they're going to have, the date, time, the grounds, that sort of thing, and the cost. The St. Lucia Football Association would contribute to it. The National Lotteries would contribute to it. The government of St. Lucia. And that is an absolute fact. Most times, individuals stay on the fields and they say, you're spending money on semi-pro football and you're spending money. And that's so far from the reality. The clubs that have seriously developed their programs always get support under this government.
Good morning, Mr. Minister. Kishana Smith from Choice TV. Are you aware that there is a stigma attached to TVET institutions? I know it's primarily catered to persons who may be academically deficient and perhaps leading towards a skill, but there is a stigma attached to TVET institutions. Are you aware, and if so, what is the ministry doing to debunk such stigma?
That is a very important question. And there is something that I've been speaking to. There is something that I've been speaking to as soon as I became Minister of Education. And it's the concept of parity of esteem. It's a notion that and we all have to contribute to that parity of esteem, that a child who gets into grade 5 and 6 about to write common entrance, that the teachers clearly see is more technical, gravitating towards more TVET. There is always, and it comes from the home, from the fields, from the communities, that level of conversation as if to force the child into something considered to be more esteemed, become a doctor, become a lawyer, become a teacher, that sort of thing. So if we from the homes, from the fields, on the beach, do not take a child from very early and give them that parity of esteem that if you want to become a plumber, you will be making just as much money as a teacher, and in many instances, double. If we're going to then take that child away from that and say, you need to be a doctor for you to be held in a high esteem, you need to be a lawyer. If we, and that's not the work or the function only of the ministry or the Minister of Education, right. It's incumbent on all of us to promote parity of esteem based on what our children are telling us and what they are naturally inclined to do. And another thing, TVET is not about having individuals that are less academic. Some of the best TVET individuals in the world are just differently intellectual. So the notion that because somebody seemed to be doing plumbing or electricity, that the person seemed to be less intellectual is a misnomer. So instead of saying this individual is not doing well in maths and English, so we're going to put them into a TVET school, it means that we've missed what has been happening in our society. Our individual students are not dumb, they are differently intellectual. And once we've identified that somebody is differently intellectual, it's incumbent on us to set the path for their intelligence to be nurtured and for them to be more productive individuals. That is what we are doing at the Ministry of Education right now. That is what I'm insisting on daily. And if you speak to any of the subsectors, that I've had meetings with, they would tell you one of the first things I bring up is, hey, you'll have a responsibility to implement in the heads of our young people parity of esteem. That not because you're not going to be a doctor, it means that you're inferior. You'll be held in the same esteem as somebody who is a doctor, a lawyer, if you are a carpenter. Once you can monetize what you're doing, once you can be an entrepreneur in what you're doing, you could be just as successful.
All right, thank you. I know that digital learning was accelerated during the COVID-19 pandemic, but where do we currently stand in relation to digital classrooms?
Well, we had a setback because there was a government that said Kigain Kiyosa. And so we had a period where we had to sort of recalibrate and ensure that we worked on getting as many devices, because you cannot really have digital transformation without the equipment for digital transformation. Smart classrooms, having one laptop per child, and of course having all the elements of setting up wireless capabilities and that sort of thing. And so we are in the process of coming up with the figures, doing a full analysis of what we need to ensure that we have proper digital transformation in this nation. And I can tell you it's a very expensive venture, very expensive. It means that our teachers have to be equipped with AI knowledge, modern knowledge on how to actually teach. It means that every child needs to have a device. It means that we need to have wireless capabilities on Mount Jimmy, just as we need on Pigeon Point. It means that our whole thrust as teachers, as principals, is to continue the re-educationing of ourselves to ensure that we can continue to provide that level of training to our people. It's very expensive, but I am excited about some of the conversations I've had with our foreign partners and how we can execute that in St. Lucia.
Okay, wonderful. It's Youth Month. Any comments from you in relation? I know that a calendar of activities was released. So any comments from you?
Yes, so we've had some very good conversations about Youth Month. As you would know, Youth Month in times past ended with Youth Awards. And of course, we had the COVID situation. And then we had a little discussion on what really caused the Youth Awards to be pushed to November. But we've had it consecutively in the month of November. And so it has kind of, you want a activity that really culminates the celebration of young people. Right. And so we've had discussions and we've decided that we are going to pretty much forego the November event to ensure that next year, April, we actually have youth awards during that time. But this month, we will be having a lot of activities in terms of training camps for young people. We will be having different programs, the districts, youth and sports councils. We'll be having the elections, so we expected to see who is elected. We have a brand new National Youth Council executive. They are on fire. They are starting to do the work that we need, for this nation to move in the right direction. I'm excited about it. And I believe that we have a lot ongoing. We have the youth policy that we are going to implement, and a number of activities in the youth department is going to be pushing along this month.
Okay, wonderful. Based on my own personal observations, I believe it's getting very common for young persons to get pregnant. As Minister of Youth, what's your take on young people getting pregnant, especially very young as 17, 18? Of course, maybe they may not be financially ready. What's your take on that?
Well, yeah, I like to try and put people in positions. And then DBS have their mic on there. Next thing they misquote me. But let's change exactly. You all heard the question, and you're going to. Caroline Casimir was pregnant with Kenson Casimir at the age of 17. So I look at this in a totally different way to a lot of people, given my experience. This is the strongest woman that I've ever encountered in my life. And I believe one of the reasons she's so strong is because she had to make sure she did what she did to get me to where I am today. There's a gift to somebody being able to nurture children despite the fact that they have very difficult circumstances. So you'll not hear me speak down to any mother who gets pregnant at a younger age than society deems. And if you look at the history of mankind, it's not uncommon that a 15, 16, 17-year-old would have fallen into that sort of thing. But our law says 16. And for me as minister, I think we need to do a lot more in terms of implementing those laws. We have situations where a child gets pregnant at 15 and somebody did it, but nobody seems to know or nothing actually happens. I am concerned about that, deeply concerned about that. But if you're talking about a 17, 18-year-old that we believe is a little too young, I think proper counseling, I think proper nutrition and health to ensure that she has a very strong, healthy child, productive child, and of course the additional support throughout in terms of our programs. As Minister of Education, we have a number of programs for individuals to get back in line with NELU. You can go back, you can do your CXCs, and STC, you can learn a skill. Pretty much give them those options. And I think for counseling, we need more of that for individual young ladies who actually give birth to a child early, to actually set them on the right path, to not necessarily get back into childbearing again in a few years and that sort of thing. So for me, I think at the end of the day, it's discussions and conversations that we need to have in a very honest way. I don't think it makes sense for us to be hypocritical, like it's something new. I think all and sundry need to play their part, the police, the education system, the families, the communities, to ensure that at the end of the day, we can help out as much as possible and not blame them for any issues of crime or violence in our nation.
All right, nice. Finally, from me, do you suppose that physical education within schools is sufficient enough for the discovery and nurturing of sports talent among students?
No.
What do you think we can do a bit more?
Very good question. I went to interdistrict primary school championships as a primary school. That is where we first see the next Julian Alfred. And of course, granted, it was held during the week. It was in the final week of classrooms, actual teaching. And during that week, there's nothing happening but playing games, video games, drafts, and that sort of thing. And I was absolutely shocked at the fact that we did not have a completely filled grounds. Because the fact of the matter is, the children were not doing anything that prevented them from coming and support their peers. I say this because it is not just the ministry, the minister, and a coach that ensures we have sustainable development in sports in this country. It is the responsibility of all of us. You all as journalists play your role. The PE teacher would play his role. But that can never be enough. Never be. Look at Jamaica. Look at Grenada. It is a communal decision to rally behind an athlete. It is a full school's decision to rally behind an athlete, not just a coach, not just a teacher, but we all need to get behind our athletes and support them. That is why I try my best to post when an individual athlete is excelling so that they can get the recognition, that they can feel the love from society, and that we can do what we need to do to help them move along the next level. No more? That's it. Thank you all so much for your time. Arsenal is still going to win the league forever.
We'll have to play City.
That's why we're winning.
And then City